Hello students, welcome to office hours for the week. So I will be doing this video and also a video which goes through the midterm exam and explains the solutions to some of the trickier problems. But this video is just to help you with XML querying. And so what I'm going to do is, much like my last office hours, I'm going to go through the extra practice exercises for XML querying. Actually, I'm probably not going to go through every single extra practice exercise because the world countries have 12 extra practice exercises, so I'm going to get some variety. I'm going to do the course catalog extra practice, all three of them, two of the world countries extra practice exercises, and then I'm going to do the XSLT for both countries and the course catalog, and that's the extra practice set. So first, I'm just going to get started with the course catalog, XPath and XQuery extra practice exercises. And so we'll get started with the first question, which just asks you to return the course number of the course that is cross-listed as Linguistics 180. And so, as a Stanford student who's taken this course, I remember that it's CS 124, but I can show you how to do this in XPath. So all of these exercises are going to require you to refer to the document, and so you just do that with doc courses.xml. And so we need to find out a little bit more about the structure of the data to know which course is cross-listed as Linguistics 180. So let's just take a quick look at the data set. So let me see if I can get this in frame better. So we see that it's structured like this, where we have a course catalog root element, and then the department information, and then information on the courses for each of the departments. And so we want to find out where we have prerequisite information. And so actually, if we look in here, okay, CS 124, within the description field underneath that course, we see that we have the text cross-listed as Ling 180. And so that's how cross-listed courses happen in this data set. So we know that we need to return the course number, which in this case is CS 124, of a course that just has in its description cross-listed as Ling 180. And so if we go back to our text box here, so we see first that we're going to need a course, and eventually we're going to need to return its number. And if you remember, the number was an attribute and not a child, so we have to do that by doing data at number. And so right now, this will just give us the course numbers of every course, because this double slash course will match any element in the data, which is a course, and then it will just navigate from there and pull out the number. So that's not really what we want. We want to do some filtering on the course itself. And so what we typically do is do that inside of brackets like this. And if we remember, it's that the description contains some text, namely cross-listed as Ling 180. And so we can do that. Text containment is really simple in XPath. You just do contains, and then you do what the child element from here is, so it's description, and then the text that we were after was cross-listed as Ling 180. And barring any typos, this should be correct, so let's just check it out real quick. All right, great. It's correct. It correctly returns to us CS 124. So awesome. Now let's move on to question 2. So return numbers of courses taught by an instructor with first name Daphne or Julie. All right, and so once again, we're going to need to start off with this dot courses. Okay, and so again, we need to navigate down to courses, as we can tell, since we're doing our filtering on courses, and then we need to return course numbers. So it's sort of the same basic paradigm here, where we are navigating to a course and returning its number, and then within the course we'll do some more filtering. That should be course, not courses. Okay, so now is a little bit more tricky part. So let's take a quick look at the data and to see how first names happen. So we want first names of Julie and Daphne. So like this is an example where Julie Zielinski is the instructor for CS 107. And so we see that underneath course, it's under the instructors element, and then we have lecturer, and then the first name of the lecturer, the last name of the lecturer. But it's not always the case that the instructor is the lecturer. Sometimes in the data they're a professor. So sometimes you have instructor's professor, and then their first name, in this case, Mehran Sahami. And so we don't want to just match lecturers, and nor do we want to just match professors. But what we can do is we can navigate down to the instructor's level and then match any child of instructors. We do know that any child of instructors will either be a lecturer or a professor based on the data we have here. And you can just go through the data to convince yourself of that. So if we match instructors and then use the star operator, the wildcard operator, then it will match either lecturer or professor, and then we can get the first name. And so hopefully this is a little bit clearer when I actually do this. Okay, so we've navigated down to our course, and we know that we want instructors. And then I claim that we can just use this wildcard operator, which is the asterisk, and that will match anything immediately below instructors, which in this case is either lecturer or professor. And so that will get us that, and then we do some filtering on either lecturer or professor. We need first name equal to Daphne, or first name is equal to Julie. Alright, so again, barring any typos, this should do the trick. And let's see. Great, correct. So we get CS 107 and CS 228, just as we want. Okay, so now let's move on and take a look at question 3. Okay, return the titles of courses that have both a lecturer and a professor as instructors, and return each title only once. Okay, so this is actually a case where I'm not going to do this in XPath. What I'm going to do instead is go for an XQuery expression to do this. And so return all titles of courses. So in XQuery, so we are going to want to refer to this document. In XQuery, the sort of iteration that we tend to do is for each element in some set, and then you do various operations on it. So in this case, we're returning titles of courses that have some specifications, and So what we really want to be doing is looking at course elements. And so for each course, $C in our document navigated down to the course level. And this will create a loop which will just go across all course elements in the data. And then we want them to have both a lecturer and a professor as instructors. And so the way that you can tell that there's a lecturer as an instructor is just with an expression like C/instructor/lecturer. If that expression is non-empty, then it will evaluate to true, and so you will know that there is a lecturer as one of the instructors. And so we can actually do where C/instructor/lecturer, and that will get us every course where there's a lecturer as an instructor. But we also want a professor as an instructor, and so we can just concatenate this and do an and do the same thing with professor. And then we want to return the title of the course. And so if you will recall from the data, title is just a child of course. And so we then return C/title. And again, this is assuming I haven't made any typographical errors, and looks like I haven't. So we get the correct result. And in this case, we get two courses, programming methodology and programming abstractions. Great, so hopefully that gets you a little bit of familiarity with the course catalog dataset and a little bit of familiarity with XPath and XQuery. So next I'm going to move on to some world countries extra practice exercises. And so I'm going to be doing some of the more challenging ones, actually. I'm going to be doing numbers 11 and 12 out of this set. And so just to do a quick look at this data set, so this has a bunch of countries. The root element is countries, and then each child is a country, which has name, population, area as attributes, and then the major languages, along with the percentage of people who speak that language as attributes, and then also possibly a list of cities for that country. And so this question number 11 asks you to return the names of all countries for which the data does not include any languages or cities, but the country has more than 10 million people. Okay, so actually we can do this entirely in XPath. And again, we need to refer to the document, so I'll just start off with that. And so we want to be returning the name of countries. So we go down to the country level, and much as the XPath queries that we were doing before, we're going to be returning the name of the country, since, if you remember, name is an attribute of country. We need to use this data construct. So country/data of @name will give you the name of all countries. And so we have that part done, and then we just need to do our filtering on the countries. Okay, so all countries for which the data does not include any languages or cities. And so, if you'll recall, XPath has this count operator, which basically you can pass in at any point, and it will give you the number of elements with that tag at the level. So that's pretty convenient here. So no data on languages or cities. So we can just do a filter based on count language equals 0, and so that'll give us all of the countries with no data on languages, and then we can just concatenate with and. So we also don't want any data on cities, so we want count city to be 0, and we also want the country to have more than 10 million people. And so we do that by referring to the attribute population. And so we want population greater than 10 million. And then we have all of our conditions. We have all countries with no languages, no cities, but greater than 10 million population, and then we take the name of that country. So let's see what we get. Oh, looks like I have a syntax error here. Let me look at what this problem is. Looks like I didn't include another and for population. Yeah, you got to be careful with your Boolean logic operators. So count language equals 0, and count city equals 0, and population is greater than 10 million. Great, we get the correct countries, which is just this list of countries. And next, we're going to be doing question 12. And so this is a query that requires some fairly intricate XQuery operations. So return the name of the country that has the city with the highest population out of any city. So we want the city with the maximum population. We want to return the country that that city is in. And as a hint, you may need to explicitly cast population numbers as integers with XSLT to get the correct answer. So we'll deal with that after we have like the main logic of this set up. But anyway, we want the name of a country. So it stands to reason, following basic flower operations, that we're going to want to loop through every country in the document. So for all countries in countries.xml/country, and then we want the city that has the highest population of all cities in any country. So we have this loop around the countries, and then we can do another loop just around the cities in this country that we're currently considering in the loop. So for city in C/city. So this will loop us across every city in every country in the document. And so now that we have this city here, we can just do a comparison and see if its population is higher than the population for every other city. And so, indeed, what we're going to want to do is compare this city to every city in the database. And we don't want to return it if its population is less than some other population. But ultimately, we're going to be returning the name of the country. So we know that we're going to have return c slash data of so the name of the country. So we're going to be returning this country's name once we filter out and decide that this city has the highest population of every city. So now we need our where statement. And so as I was saying a bit earlier, we need to compare this city to every other city. So we'll make up a second city to every other city. And so if you recall, XQuery has this every construct where you can basically loop across everything in a list from within the where statement. So it's convenient in this case. So what we've done here is we've just gotten every city in this document, and every tends to come along with a satisfies. And so where every satisfies just means that everything in this loop satisfies some condition, and we're going to type out that condition now. And so we want it to be the case that city 2's population is less than or equal to city's population. So hopefully that makes sense. We're just doing a pointwise comparison and checking that for every city 2 in the document, city 2's population is at most city's population. And so that guarantees that city is the max. And so this hint about using XSint to get the correct answer is about to come into play. So I'm actually going to check this answer, and it should fail. And so it gives, in this case, India instead of South Korea. And so it's kind of funny. I think it's because it explicitly does a string comparison between these two populations, but we need it to be an integer comparison. And so that's why this typing is needed. So we just do a typecast. Actually, I guess I can just do it there. A typecast of both of these cities' population to integers, and then we should get the correct result. And we do. And so in this case, we get South Korea correctly. So awesome. So that wraps up the extra practice XPath and XQuery exercises that I'm going to run over. And so now I'm going to get on to everyone's favorite, which is XSLT, extra practice exercises. So XSLT is pretty challenging to get right. It's really syntax heavy. So we'll just sort of dive into it and use some of the lessons that Jennifer taught in the lecture videos to help us along the way. And so these extra practice exercises, so we're starting off with the course's extra practice exercises, use exactly the same data set as before. We just are writing the queries in a different language. And so this first question is just, again, on the course catalog, to return all courses with enrollment greater than 500, and to retain the structure of course elements from the original data. Okay, so one nice thing is that they do give us a template style sheet here. And so your solution should fill in the following style sheet. And so, we will just copy and paste that in as a good starting point. And so, all courses with enrollment greater than 500. So that's a query that's really easy to do in XPath, if we remember. And so if you recall from the video, so we have like our style sheet and then a template. And so we're just going to want to be matching courses with enrollment greater than 500. And so that's pretty straightforward here. We can match any course element just by doing XSL template match equals course. And so that'll match every course. And then we can embed XPath in here, and just as we would have done in the XPath exercises, we can do enrollment greater than 500. And then we need to do some other matching. And so it says, retain this structure of course elements from the original data. And so if you'll recall from lecture, the way that you do that is by just copying this exact course element, which you do by XSL copy of and select equals dot, where dot is the current element. And it turns out that that is the entire query in this case. So there was this more templates is needed, but we don't need any more templates here. So we should be good with just this. We've matched all courses with enrollment greater than 500, and we copied their exact element, and then we close off the template, and let's check that answer. Oh, that was incorrect. Let's do a quick check of why. Okay, so we're getting a lot of junk in here, and this actually was an expected error where we're just getting all of this text from elements that didn't match anything. So just all of the text gets spit out if you don't explicitly match it. And Jennifer did discuss this in the video, and there is a workaround, so we actually do need another template here. So we need just to match text. And so the way you do that is you just match text like that, and then we can close off that element. We don't want to copy it. We just want to match it and do nothing with it. And now let's see how we do. And now we get the correct result. And you can see we just get all of these courses with enrollments that are greater than 500. And I apologize for the lack of readability in the way that this result is displayed. There's like no indentation or anything. I'm sorry about that. So cool, that should give you an idea where you return the exact structure of a course element, and then you just match all of the text and do nothing with it. Cool, and so let's just move on to the next. So delete from the data all courses with enrollment greater than 60 or with no enrollment listed. And otherwise the structure of the data should be the same. And okay, so we'll again start off with our template. And so we want to keep the structure of the data the same as before. So if we'll recall, that just means that we still want to like have this root element course catalog, and then the departments and all of their courses listed in this same way. And so if you remember, the best way to retain the structure of the overall data like that is to match absolutely everything and then delete what you need to delete. So it comes back to that kind of tricky looking regular expression that Jennifer went over in the lecture video, where you do this match star bar at star or text, and so that will match everything in the XML. And what we do with that is we then apply that template. So this is exactly what Jennifer did in lecture to retain the structure of data and just remove certain things. And so we do that inside of a copy. And inside of this copy statement, we apply template. And so what we've done so far is we have matched and copied the entire data set into our result. And let me just make this box a little bit bigger for readability. And Jennifer went over how that works in lecture. So that just matches everything and copies it to the result. And then what we need to do is match our courses with enrollment greater than 60 or no enrollment listed and delete them from the data set. And so this is actually the easy part, where we can just do this with a simple XPath expression. And so we'll match what we need and then just do nothing with it. We'll just close it off. And so recall we can just go to course, and much like in one of the previous problems, we will be accessing the enrollment field. So we want enrollment greater than 60 and or with no enrollment listed. And so we do that the same way as we did previously, where we want the count of the number of enrollments listed underneath this element to equal 0. Phew. So I know that that's a lot, but hopefully it makes sense, where we've copied everything and then just matched these courses with enrollment greater than 60 or no enrollment listed, which we wanted to delete. So we just, after we've copied everything, we match these and just do nothing with them. And so that should remove them from the data. And let's see how this works out. All right, so looks like I am getting an error. So element of type XSL copy must be terminated by the matching end tag. Okay, so that looks like it's a problem here. And I think it may have been as simple as a white space error. So yeah. So now something interesting is happening. So I'm getting a result, but it's not quite correct, and I'm trying to see what's wrong with it. Okay, so I believe what's happening is I am now this is mysterious. Ah, I see what's happening here. So I'm not returning, I am returning courses that have no enrollment listed, and that is my mistake up here. I have enrollments in this count of enrollment equals 0 instead of enrollment, so I just get rid of that S, and this should be good. Huh, maybe not. So, as we say, XQuery expressions are difficult to get right. So here's the problem. I'm trying to do enrollment greater than 60 and count of enrollment equals 0. That should be an OR. And hopefully that makes sense why. So we want enrollments greater than 60 deleted or no enrollment listed. Because otherwise that would just return everything. And finally we get the correct result. So some takeaways. One, it's just tricky to get all of the syntax correct in XSLT. We had like this extra white space before the closing tag of copy, and that causes syntax error, so you need to not have that white space. And then just something as small as having an S here, misspelling something will make your query wrong, and then you also have to worry about your standard Boolean logic, so having and here instead of or is a problem. So hopefully that is an instructive example, and everything now makes sense with it. And just one more question here. So this is the World Countries XSLT extra practice, where we want to remove from the data all countries with area greater than 40,000 and all countries with no cities listed. Otherwise, structure of the data should be the same. Okay, so actually this is incredibly similar to the last problem that we did with the course catalog, so I am just going to copy that answer over. So we see we want countries with area greater than 40,000 or no cities listed to be removed from the data. And so this is exactly like what we have here. So it's kind of nice. Like we have our matching everything template, which still works regardless of the data set. And then we just had this one line that was specific to the course catalog. And so we can just change this to country instead of course, and instead of enrollment, population, and instead of greater than 60, greater than 40,000, and instead of count enrollment equals 0, we want count of city sub-elements to be equal to 0, and that should be it. Okay, so that's incorrect. Something went wrong there. Oh, right. We wanted area greater than 40,000, not population greater than 40,000. So let's... perfect. Okay. And so we see that that was pretty much exactly the same problem that we had last time. And so that should give you a good idea of some XSLT and some of the trickiness that goes into getting the queries correct. And hopefully you've learned something in this session. I'm going to sign off. Thank you all for watching, and I hope that this video has been useful. I will be posting a video on the midterm questions very soon. Thank you.